Heard a beautiful question.
And I'm going to turn the screen for everyone to be able to hear you.
Heard a beautiful question. Yirmiyahu wrote the very piercing words that we read today. If you look in the Sefer Yirmiyahu, you see, talks about the destruction, talks about the pain. And yet we know that everything that Yirmiyahu wrote was with Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh means that he was able to see into the future. He was able to see. And we also know that we learned from Yaakov Avinu that he lost his Ruach HaKodesh when he was mourning and missing his son Yosef. Why? Because if a person is not besimcha, if a person is not happy, then he doesn't have Ruach HaKodesh. So the question that really it has to be answered is, if Yirmiyahu wrote all of these painful words, and he had Ruach HaKodesh, and he witnessed so much destruction, and if you read it, and it's mind-boggling to see and to read what went on. He also had to be on the highest level of happiness in order to do that, to write it. So how could he be so happy if he's witnessing the destruction? He is the prophet that witnesses all of the destruction. And yet he's happy? This is such an important question, because when we're in Tisha B'Av, it's like uncomfortable. You don't know how to act. You must happy, sad, cry. I mean, you don't really know what to do. We really don't relate to what happened 1,956 years ago. It's very difficult to do that. And to be honest with you, we're trained every other day of the year to be positive, to be happy, to see the good. And all of a sudden now we have to become negative, see the bad, see what's lacking. How do we deal with this? And I think this answers the question. Because happiness is something that we always have to have. Happiness comes from growth. Rabbi Avigdor Miller explains that the word for happiness in Hebrew is sameach, to be happy. And the word for growth is someach. We interchange the sin and the sadi. They're interchangeable. A growing person is a happy person. A person who is going to new heights, discovering who he is, seeing what he could become, learning anew, growing anew, going beyond his natural restrictions to become something bigger, that's a happy person. That is a happy person. And I gave a mashal, and I keep on talking about this mashal over and over again. If somebody's father would give him a call and say, I'm out of my apartment, what is his father going to say? There's a father says, calls his son, listen, I'm homeless. I lost my apartment. Could you help me out? What does the father want the son to feel? Depression? Wants him to be sad, go down and cry? No. He wants him to do something. He wants him to help him. I went to one of the camps yesterday to visit the little kids, little 5-year-old kids. And I saw one of the Rabbeim teaching. I said, boys, what would you do if your Rebbe lost his house? So one boy got up and said, I would give him my bed. Beautiful. Another boy said, I'll build him his own new house. Another boy said, I'll get him a hotel, which we liked. That boy was awesome. We liked that response. He really thinks big, that boy. He was actually an SLC boy. And one of the kids said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go pick him up on my bike. I'm going to put him on the back. I'm going to hold his hand. I'm going to bring him to my daddy. This is the answers of the children. Children know how to get to the core of an issue. You know what they were all saying? They were really answering what we know. Va'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. Hashem wants you to build him a house, but the house is not going to be built with brick and mortar. It's not going to be built. It's not going to be built with logs. It's not going to be a hotel room. It's not going to even be your bed. It's going to be in your heart. Once we start to realize that we can grow, wow, now we start to understand what Hashem's looking for. What is the home Hashem is looking for? I used to go every year with my children on the night of Tisha B'Av to a rabbi named Rabbi Brevda. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. This is a man who he was an older man. He would speak for about 3 hours on Tisha B'Av night. It was very, very long. And he was American born, and he went to Europe, and he was able to see great things. He got close to great rabbis back in Europe, like Rabbi Cheskel Levenstein. He went to Eretz Yisrael. He met the Chazon Ish. This is a great man. And he said something that stuck with me for many years. He said one time he was talking to somebody about his child. And his child was very angry. Very angry. And the rabbi told him, don't worry. All you have to do is channel his anger to love. He has feelings. He has emotions. What is he angry about? He's angry about his life. He's angry at Hashem. He's angry. But if there's emotion there, we can channel it. But he said one day he was sitting down in the Beit Midrash, and he went outside, and he saw a boy about 16 years old, and he just didn't care about anything. He was apathetic. He didn't care. Wasn't angry, wasn't happy, nothing. The rabbi said, that is the most dangerous thing that could exist. Because when we're apathetic and we don't even feel what's going on, we can't respond. If I'm numb, if my body is numb, I can't respond. I don't know whether there's pain. That's the most dangerous thing that could happen to a person. If a person, chas v'shalom, does not feel pain, then he will not go to the doctor and he will not fix his problem. So feeling is the most important thing we could have. But to just be apathetic and not feel anything is very scary. I once heard a beautiful mashal to this, to understand what I'm trying to get at. Lo aleinu, there was a person that was sitting shiva for his wife. He had young children. And one of the children was 2 years old. 2-year-old child, lo aleinu, in a shiva house. And the 2-year-old child's walking around. Oh, I got a lolly. Can I get another lolly? Oh, can I get this? I'm going to go play my ball now. This 2-year-old child has absolutely no idea what's going on around him in his life. Lost his mother. But he just doesn't know. He's living in a different reality. That's called apathy. That in our adult terms, it's apathy. For him, it's normal. But we live our lives sometimes like that child. Everything's fine. Just give me a lolly. Everything's great. And the truth of the matter is, everything is great. We have so many great things happening for us. There's so many reasons to be happy. But we cannot be apathetic when it comes to our growth. And I'm going to give you something now to understand what exactly we're supposed to be doing today. Because I'll be totally upfront with you. I'm 44 years old. And I'm still searching for the right formula of what I'm supposed to be doing today. And I really feel right now a little glimmer of hope to understand what's the avodah. It's not to be sad. It's not to be depressed. It's to be longing for something more. It's to feel a lacking. to feel that I want something like the rabbi mentioned before. So what did we have with the Beit HaMikdash? I mean, what was it? If you look in the books, Rabbi Victor Miller writes something so beautiful, and I think it's so important for us. There was something called nivu'ah, prophecy. What was prophecy exactly? Now, anyone who here is married knows that their spouse, sometimes it feels like they have prophecy. They somehow know exactly the item we need to work on. They know us the best. And they could really tell us some things that could really hurt sometimes. And we don't want to hear that. Who wants to hear Musar? Who wants to hear about our failings? Who wants to hear about the things we have to change? Oh, nobody wants to hear that. We just want to be built up, build me up. But the Navi knew exactly what you needed to work on. He would look at you, he would analyze you, and he would tell you, you got to fix that. And in the beginning, the people loved it. It was great. I love it. I could become a better person. I could change myself. I could become happy. I could become a someach. I could be a growing person. But little by little, I started to feel like, me? Something wrong with me? You kidding me? You know how good I am? You know how great I am? You know what I do every day? You telling me there's something wrong with my personality? No, not me. Alex? Nah, I'm perfect. I'm a Sadiq. You don't grow that way. You just don't grow that way. That's the bottom line. Unfortunately, to grow, you need to really, really hear the truth. I once read a book, a great book, it's a secular book called Good to Great. It's about businesses. Never was successful in business. I don't know why I read the book, but for some reason I had to read it for school or graduate school, something like that. And in the book, they analyze what made the top companies in the United States of America successful. You know what the number one characteristic of the most successful companies in America are? Number one, the ability to look truth straight in the face and accept it. In their meetings, nobody was afraid to say, no, this product not going to work. This idea, no. The setup that we did, no, let's try this. Everybody was open to hear. Wow, that's the setup of the business? That means they could actually look inwardly and make changes where necessary and be successful. Because if you don't have that environment, you could be on a crash course and your business could be going all the way downhill and you'll never know. Because there isn't an environment of introspection and of growth. It just doesn't exist. In fact, this is actually spoken out by Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech actually says this clearly. What does he say? Derech Hayim, the way of life, is what? Tochechat Musa. It's rebuke. The rebuke of instruction. That's the way to life. You want life. You want olam haba. You want to grow. You want to be happy. You want to live in this world. Forget about olam haba right now. You want to be a happy person. You want to understand what life was like in the Beit HaMikdash. Just open up your heart to taking some musarin. When somebody tells you something, you know what? I have news for you. Maybe you needed to hear it. It works that way in the physical life. If you gain a few pounds and someone tells you, whoa, what happened to your stomach? You really, you gained about 15, 20 pounds. That's so nasty. I have news for you. Hello. Maybe it's true. Maybe you needed to hear that. And maybe it could become the motivation to lose those 15, 20 pounds. But we don't like to hear that. There's something that we're doing. I was once talking to somebody. You know what he told me? He goes, yeah, I'm really angry at you. I said, why? What happened? He goes, you know that last week I was walking in the street and you saw me and you went out of your way not to say hello to me? Now, I'll be honest with you. I'll be totally honest with you. I didn't see him. But you know what? Maybe I should pick up my eyes a little bit more to look, to make sure to see people. I said, you know what? That's a musar. I'm so sorry. I really am sorry. Thank you for letting me know. And I'll be serious. I now go out of my way to make sure to say hello to people. Because I have news for you. Sometimes I'm not in the mood. If I'm going to say hi to this person, I got to talk to them for 15, 20 minutes. I'd rather bang my head in the wall. But I have news for you. You know what the right thing to do is? Say hello. Talk to him. That's musar. That's growth. You become a person that's not self-centered. It's not about me and my mood. It's about this other person. That's real growth. That's taking musar. I was walking with my wife. We were taking a walk to just get some exercise. She told me, you know what I noticed? When you walk in the sidewalk and someone's coming the other way, for some reason you expect that they're going to go to the other side or move over. What's wrong with you? You go to the other side. Where's your humility? That's ga'ava. I have news for you. She's right. What? I'm walking down the sidewalk. The other person has to go on the grass and I don't? We all know how dangerous going on the grass in Brooklyn could be for various reasons. That's called musar. Instead of getting all, you're right. Thank you. That's a growing person. And it goes on and on and on. And that's also the example for our children. If we don't take musar ourselves, then we go to our kids and say, you know what, I think it should be. They don't listen to us because they see that when musar is given to us, we don't take it. This is derech hayim. You want life. Life is the ability to accept musar. I was talking to somebody that I learn with. He told me, this is what's going on. The learning is not the same. This is how the people feel. Get angry? What are you talking about? Thank you for telling me. Let me adapt. I needed to hear that. This is what life is about. This is what the Navi used to do. So when we lost Nivuah, when we lost our Beit HaMikdash, we lost that guidance. We lost that piercing, this is what you need to fix. And when you lose that, it's a free fall. Because if you're not going to hear what anyone has to say, how are you going to grow? You're not going to listen to Hashem either. Because the Torah is filled with directives. So why do we cry? We don't cry because we're depressed. We don't cry because we're unhappy. We cry because we don't have the ability to hear the truth to become truly happy, to become truly growing people. And we could change it right now. You could change it right now. The next time somebody tells you something, you read something, say, I'm going to open up my heart. That's the pshat, that's the explanation of Asuli Mikdash v'shachanti betocham. Because when we had the Beit HaMikdash, Hashem said, I could dwell within you. Because you're the type of person that will hear. You're the type of person that will accept. You're the type of person that could be guided. Now we can make it happen. So this is not necessarily the day to only focus on the results of this galut. We hear Holocaust stories, do it. But it's a time, really more importantly, to focus on the nitty-gritty of what's going to stay with us for the next 364 days. How you're going to change is only by making real change within you to realize how I could make myself a person that can have the Beit HaMikdash with me wherever I go. And understanding this opens up your eyes to what we read. Read the Haftarah today. Reading the Haftarah. And you read the words. Mi ha'ish hechacham. Who's the smart man? V'yaven et zot. And he's going to understand this. V'asher diber pi Hashem elav. V'yagidah. Al ma abdah ha'aretz. Why did we get kicked out of our land? Why did this thing happen? Like what? Why? We became despondent. We're just traveling. Why did it happen? It's like you have the question of why did this happen and why we have Tisha B'Av. It's right here in the Haftarah. It's here. Beautiful. Yirmiyahu is telling us. You don't have to look very far and listen to the answer. You know why this happened? Vayomer Hashem. It's not even Yirmiyahu. This is Hashem telling us. Hashem is saying to you, this is why this happened. Al ozvam et torati. You left my Torah. Asher natati lifnehem, that I gave before you. Velo shamu. You are no longer the type of person that could hear. Bekoli, to my voice. Velo alchuba. You didn't go in my ways. You became that. Oh, me? Me? No, I'm great. You no longer became the person that listens to my Torah. The Torah is the hora'ah. Torah is from a lashon of teaching. Listen to the next pasuk. Vayelechu achare shirirut libam. They went after their own heart. My heart tells me I'm great. I tell myself when I tell myself, if I'm my own judge, I'm perfect. I'm great. I love myself. You know how I know I love myself? Look at every person in this room loves themselves. Why? I can prove to you. How much you look in the mirror? You know, when you pass a mirror, like, how do I look? Yeah, I look good. Wow. Especially when you have a nice suit on, like, you love yourself, and you should love yourself, but you shouldn't be your own rabbi. And it's not going to work. Not going to work too well. So they went after Shirirut Libam. They went after the Baal. They're not the type of people that could hear. So, this hurts because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to accept Musar. But that's real. That's real. I went today, I looked in the Kinot. My eyes are now open to this message, and I'm seeing it really everywhere. Now, this Kina, I don't believe is said by Sfaradim, but it is said by the Ashkenazim. And it's a very, very powerful Kina. And it talks about Yoshiyahu HaMelech. Now, Yirmiyahu actually himself in Yirmiyahu cries and laments over the loss of this king. Who was this king? The king Yoshiyahu had a grandfather. His grandfather was Menashe. We know what Menashe did during his life. He did make teshuvah at the end of his life, but during his life, he was on a campaign to add and to spread Avodah Zarah throughout the land, to the point that he even put an idol in the Kodesh Kodashim, in the Holy of Holies. And at the end of his life, he tried to make teshuvah. It's a long story, but it wasn't enough to uproot. The damage was unbelievable. Now you have his grandson is now the king. His grandson is the king. From the storyline, it's absolutely scary. Just listen to this, and you're gonna hear the nuance. There was a Kohen Gadol, Hilkiah, who was the father of Yirmiyahu. The Kohen Gadol Hilkiah was doing some work in the Beit HaMikdash, and he uncovers an old Sefer Torah. And he looks in the Torah and he sees the words that are said there. Cursed is the one who does not keep this Torah. That's what it says in the Torah. Whew, that's not a good thing. He opens it up and that's what he sees. That's the message. He goes to Yoshiyahu. Now listen to the nuance. You ready? Yoshiyahu says, what's that book? What's that book? It's the Torah. Never saw a Torah before. The king of Israel, grandson of Menashe, never saw a Torah. He heard those words. It pierced his heart. And he became of the greatest kings that ever lived. He went on a campaign to uproot all the Avodah Zarah from the country. He brought Torah back from every corner. You can't imagine what he did. Unfortunately, at the end of his life, he was killed by the king of Mitzrayim. King of Mitzrayim wanted to go through Israel from the southwest to go up to the northeast in order to wage battle with Assyria up in the northeast. And he didn't allow them to go. And Yirmiyahu said, let them go. And Yoshiyahu was so excited about what he accomplished in the country. He said, there's Sadiqim now. These are Sadiqim. We're not going to lose this battle. Hashem says if we're Sadiqim, he's going to protect us. Yirmiyahu said, no. We're not there yet. He didn't listen to Yirmiyahu. He went to Huldah, and Huldah gave him the advice, and whatever happened, he died. But I saw something in this story. What made this king so great is his ability to hear the truth. What made Yirmiyahu love him so much is that he heard the truth and he acted upon it right away. V'shachanti b'tocham. He changed the whole country. And what was his downfall? Unfortunately, his downfall was he wasn't able to hear fully the truth. That's why Yirmiyahu, it says this is Yirmiyahu himself cried over this king. He said, this is a person. If everyone was like this man, the Beit HaMikdash would never be destroyed. Because the messages of the Beit HaMikdash is for us to grow. But if we're not willing to hear, it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So the message that we have to internalize today is on a very small level. I mean, nothing real happens in big measures. Small growth. Very, very, very small. Realize that by learning Torah, you're showing that you're open to those messages. Because what happens when you learn, there's a lot of, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, I had to do that? Oh, boy. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. So they stay away. Because it's easier to be that 2-year-old with the lollipop. But what happens is when the 2-year-old gets older, they realize, wow, that lollipop was really not the right thing to be doing at the time. I didn't realize what I was getting myself into, not having a mother. That's what happens at old age when a person realizes that they didn't grow. It's never too late. If you have 1 minute left of life, in 1 minute a person could koneh olam haba. How? By becoming open to growth, becoming open to learning. We started learning this year. We added more learning on top of what the rabbi is already doing in the shul. And Baruch Hashem, it was so successful. We see the excitement of everybody to learn. And you know what? You're going to hear things that you didn't know you had to do. Change the frequency. When I hear someone tell me something about myself, as much as it might hurt, hear it. And I'm just going to end, and I'm trying to be very personal, because when it's very personal, it's very real. And you could grow from it. So I don't mind showing my vulnerabilities if it will cause people to grow. One of the things that I have, and it used to be much worse, is I had all learning disabilities as a child, but also I suffer from a little bit of ADD. You could call it whatever you want. I love having ADD. It allows me to work in a school and do 15 things at the same time. It allows me to do a lot of things. But you know what someone once told me? He said, you know, when you speak to me and you ask me to do something in school, one of the Rebbeim in school told me this. Do you know how much it hurts my feelings that when I'm in the middle of talking to you, sometimes you'll walk away? Do you know how much that hurts? I said, you're right. I was really, I'll be honest with you, now I didn't do it purposely. I'm not saying accepting Musar means you have to say you're a bad person. I didn't do it purposely. But it's true. And I started to ask around a little bit. My family, my kids. I said, yeah, a little time, you know, sometimes when you ask me a question, I'm talking to you, you just walk away. It's not nice. And it hurt. It's painful. But I work on it now. And it's hard, by the way, it's hard for me to stay standing in front of somebody for too long of a period of time. It's not easy, but I work on it. And I'm aware of it. And I'm able to grow from it, to become a different type of person. To the point where some people don't know I have that. Some people, you know, it depends. So I'm just sharing with you how we could come to this level. Be'ezat Hashem, this Tisha B'Av can make some real, concrete changes in our ability to become a vessel for Hashem, that He could put His Shekhinah with us. Let's start with some real personal changes. You hear something, accept it. You want to grow, become a person that not only hears, but you also listen. And Bezat Hashem, with that, we're going to see the Geulah, a personal Geulah, a communal Geulah, in Mashiach Sidkenu, B'mira B'yamenu, Amen.
Amen. Chazak Baruch. Thank you very much, Rabbi Miller, again. You're going to say the Kaddish because we have a minyan over here, right? You have a minyan? Oh, we have it all left? Oh, actually, yes? Oh, no. Yeah. Okay, sorry, never mind. So we're not going to be able to do it, but Chazak Baruch, thank you for joining us today. שנזכה בנחמת ציון ובבניין ירושלים, מנחה NSRC will be at 7:45 with tefillin on. Okay, don't forget, you put on tefillin, 7:45 mincha. Chatzot is at 1:01 today, 1:01.